What's going on, everybody? The San Francisco 49ers come away with the W. Good to see. Finally back in the win column. 49ers are now 2-2 on the season. So feels good to be back in this spot in the win column. Obviously, the San Francisco 49ers get a win against the Patriots, a team, all not all that great, but at the end of the day, a win is a win, and you are excited about that. So we're going to talk about some of our instant takeaways from the game, being here at Levi's Stadium, some of the bigger plays that we saw, some of the things that I think the 49ers still need to work on. There's a lot of things for the 49ers to still get better at. But as it stands right now, 49ers are in a pretty good spot. So let's talk about it. Let's get your reactions right now.
Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.
What is going down, Sourdough Squad? Feels good to be talking about a 49ers win. Brock Purdy looking pretty Brock Purdy-ish. A lot of stuff to take away from that game, but I think what I really liked was, even though it took three tries, the San Francisco 49ers score on that beautiful dime to George Kittle in the corner of the end zone was really dope catch. Great ball placement by Brock Purdy. But the funny part is they had to score 2 touchdowns before that one counted. So, hey, extra tape, something to look at, something to work on. But honestly, the 49ers come out, get the dub 30-13. Although it was a good win and it was good to get back on track, there's definitely a lot of stuff that the 49ers can still work on. I think special teams is something that comes to mind when you think about this performance against the 49ers, or excuse me, against the Patriots. You had the fumble by Isaac Guerrero and some situations that continually need to be worked on. But overall, we'll see. I think the 49ers are still trying to find, a solid returner, whether it's Guerrero or Cowing. I know they've been using both the rookies, but I do think Cowing got a little banged up out of this one, so we'll see how that goes. You had a couple injury scares with, George Kittle and Fred Warner. It does sound like both of them were able to get out of the game okay. We know George Kittle returned to the game, and Fred Warner didn't return to the game, but it did sound like he could have if it was a bigger type of need for him to come back into that one. So, all things considered, Jordan Elliott sounds like he kind of had the injury that, was probably the most concerning. So we'll have to continue to see how that goes. But in regards to the defensive line played pretty darn good this game. I think this was kind of the performance that we have been waiting to see. You had, was it Kevin Givens had 2.5 sacks. You had Malik Collins with 1.5 sacks. You had Nick Bosa with a sack, strip, and recovery. Evan Anderson, I believe, had a sack. So, defensive line, Sam Okiwanu had a strip, fumble. Defensive line, I would say, showed up in a way that kind of been waiting for them to do so. So that was really, really good to see. Was really happy to see that the defensive line was getting after him. Jacoby Brissett was definitely uncomfortable for the majority of the day. So 49ers defense absolutely was getting after him in some spots, but there's definitely some spots where I still think the 49ers, need to work on. I think there are some broken tackles that you would like to see cleaned up, penalties and things like that. But Fred Warner, again, continues to be the best player on the field. Had the phenomenal interception, landed on his back, jumps up, scores a touchdown. So Fred continues to be a driving force on this team. I think Malik Mustafa almost came away with the interception. Super, super close to bringing that one in. Hit him right in the chest. That would have been a nice pick. Um, but offense, defense, special teams, again, you can find an area that this team can clean up and work up on. I think, all things considered, even though the 49ers did win 30-13, probably could have been a 40 plus type game. Just the way that maybe they left some opportunities out there. So I think from one of the big takeaways from this game is that you get back into the win column. You're 2-2. You now have an opportunity to go beat the Cardinals at home next week. So you put yourself in a better spot than you were, heading into this game. But there's still a lot of things that this team can get better at. You can still improve, and you can still pinpoint some areas where they're just not playing up to the standard that we know that they typically hold themselves to. So that's a positive, is that they can still beat teams in this league and put 30 points on them, not playing their best game. So obviously, if the Patriots were a better team, probably would have been a different type of game. But again, contextualizing it, it's better to play these types of games now, earlier in the season, when you can kind of work out these kinks and figure out what you need to work on and things like that moving forward. So, although not a perfect game by any stretch, again, if it was a perfect game, it would probably be 60 plus points. And I don't think the Patriots would have scored on them at all, because I think this 49ers team is capable of playing to that level. So again, it's a good win, good vibe, bring the energy back. And again, it's a long season, it's a marathon. I think we live in a world that is so week to week reactionary, and it's people trying to define the entire season off a singular game, a singular play, all these things, and there needs to be a broader approach to how we discuss football, like how we analyze football and how we look in the short term, what needs to be improved, but how we're also looking in the long term. So, yes, was it the best performance the 49ers have ever had? No, it wasn't. But it was a W. And again, 2-2, back on track, plenty of things to improve. Cheyenne says, got my Fred Warner pick. Finally, been calling for a long time. Yes, you have. You have been calling for that Fred Warner pick six for feels like 2 years now. And I'm glad you finally got to see that, and we got it. And Fred was able to make that great play, diving into the end zone. Um, so that was really good. Um, and the 49ers were able to do it without Talanoa Hufanga. And again, running into a couple injuries. Tatum Bethune was thrown into the fire today. So he got some snaps. The 49ers depth is being tested early. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Obviously, you want to stay healthy. You don't want to keep running into all of these injuries. But I do think, for the most part, that the 49ers are aren't where they need to be yet, but they are in a spot where they're clearly. I still think the 49ers are better than half to three quarters of the teams in the league. It's when they play the good teams is that we're going to really be able to kind of get a better idea. So, like next week, The Cardinals will be coming in with Kyler Murray. I know the Cardinals lost, but they've been playing pretty good, and they played us good last year. So I'm excited to see how those teams stack up. And then on a short week, you go to Seattle, and then you have Cowboys and Chiefs, Chiefs and Cowboys. Um, so I think the next 4 weeks will better define what this team is. I think early on through these first 4 games, which again I call the preseason. Um, and again, I can't preach that the first 4 games are like a glorified preseason for the starters and then freak out and lose my mind if the team is playing like it's the preseason. It still kind of feels like that. So we know that this team, if they're going to play at a very high level and play championship football, they have the ability, they have the players, and they have the opportunity to execute at that level. It's just doing it and going out and doing exactly that. So we haven't gotten, I would say, championship caliber football through the first 4 weeks, in the sense of like fast forward 2 months, 3 months from now, what our expectations are. I think our expectations of this team are going to look a lot different in about 2 months than what we're witnessing over the first month of the year. So the first month, little disjointed, little bit kind of, you know, a little wonky, I guess you could say. Um, but again, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We can't we can't over sensationalize, um, bad plays and bad moments without a broader body of work. And so now that we're building up the body of work, we know what it is. We have an understanding. 49ers struggle on special teams right now. They need to work on tackling. They need to work on penalties. It's the small details, but once those small details and the health and all of those things get kind of worked through that process, I do imagine that we're going to see a much different team 2 months next for the next 4 weeks, and then after the bye, we're going to see another different type of team. So um, I'm not again. If they lost this game, I told you I would have come on here. I would have panicked. I would have done all that, but can't do that today. We can't do that today. So these next 4 games is going to be really fun tests. We got an idea who this team is. Now we got another 4 games heading into the bye to really prove who this team is, what they're made of, and what type of mentality and what type of brand of football that they want to put out. So again, looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. Yes, the refs were absolutely terrible in this game. I couldn't believe some of the calls that were made. Some of the calls and some of the non-calls, just really, uh, just really not good performance by the refs on this one. Some really egregious calls. But again, I'm not one who's ever going to blame refs as like I'll call them out and say that was a bad call, or that was a missed penalty or something like that. But at the end of the day, there are enough plays in a game where the 49ers should be able to control their own destiny. I always say you never want to put the ball in the ref's hands, because when you put yourself in that scenario where you have to rely on the refs, that's where you can get in trouble by a bad call, by a missed call, things like that. There's a lot of bad calls in this game, and there's a lot of bad non-calls in this game. Um, but again, still, like, one of the overarching takeaways is that the 49ers probably should have won this game by 20. They probably should have put 20 more points on the board. They probably should have put 3 more points, 3 more touchdowns on the board. They probably should have kept They should have kept the Patriots completely off the board if they executed and played the brand of football that we know they can play. So there's a lot of good. We can kind of get the energy back on track. And now the 49ers can take that and continue to compound this good energy and continue to try to get some dubs. And again, the next 4 weeks, they got through the first 2 weeks 2-2. Okay, now we got a next little 4 game stretch. Let's see if they can go 4-0 or 3-1. That's really what I'm looking for. If the 49ers go 4-0 or 3-1 through the next 4 games heading into the bye, that's a pretty good spot to be. And if they do so, that means they're playing pretty good football. So I think this is all relative to kind of the early portion of the year, early portion of of the season. So I noticed a lot of people were basically nailing in the season after that loss to the Rams, and I do think it's again important to take a longer view on this thing because that's what's required when you have a 17 game season. So, um, Jordan Mason continues to be great. Had over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. Brock Purdy continues to do Brock Purdy things. I really feel like I feel like we're watching Brock grow a little bit in front of our eyes. I think I think he's taking. I think we're literally watching Brock grow into that quarterback that everyone so desperately wants him to be, who continue to doubt him. But when you're seeing Brock break out of the pocket, scramble for a first down, use his legs, he's being much more comfortable in kind of playing within himself. I think he's gone through phases of his college career to pro career of like trying to be Superman in college. Then he gets to the NFL. He's like, I don't need to be Superman. I just need to be a game manager. And I think he's finding the middle ground. He's finding the middle ground of like, I can be super and I can be a manager. I can be a super manager. They're not going to be ready for that. He's going to be the super manager. Um, where not only can he effectively execute the scheme and do what he needs to do, but when things break down or you need a play from Brock, Brock is there to give it to you. So I don't even I see it as a maturation process. I'm looking at it as we're watching Brock mature as a 24-year-old right in front of our eyes. We watched a guy who already came in with solid baseline quarterback skills, ability to read defenses, manipulate defenses, throw on time with anticipation. Now you're seeing a guy who can create. Now you're seeing a guy who has the confidence that if oh crap, what I want isn't there, I can break out of the huddle or I can buy more time, or I can scramble for a first down. And now that if he continues to do this more consistently, it's going to change the way defenses guard them. There might be an opportunity where they're going to have to start putting spies on Brock Purdy. You start putting Mike Spy on him, that changes the coverage scheme. So I think that this is just the beginning for Brock. I think he's maturing into the quarterback he's going to be. I don't think we've seen I don't think we've seen it all from Brock. So I really do anticipate that Brock is only going to continue to improve and he's only going to continue to get better as everything continues on. So I'm really excited about him. Jawan was balling. Jawan's been great. Jawan's been fantastic, actually. Um, it's great. And again, having Kittle back, having Debo back, it's a good time. It's a good time. Obviously, I got to get into the tape to really be able to assess the offensive line and like the defensive line and all that stuff. But overall, man, good win for the 49ers. Needed it in the worst way. And again, obviously, didn't lose to the Patriots. So the sky isn't falling. Um, although we're not where I two things can be true at once. The sky isn't falling and the 49ers aren't where they need to be at the end of the season. I think that's a problem with the way this sport continues to be talked about is people don't understand the evolution of a season and how the team you are right now isn't going to be the team that you are at the end. So this team has to continue to evolve and continue to improve and make week in, week out steps forward and cleaning things up, getting better, and improving. And if they can play their brand of ball, it's going to be really, really hard to stop them. And this has been what we've said on this channel for multiple years. If they can play their game and they can stay healthy, the only team that is beating them is the 49ers or the refs now. I guess we can throw that into the mix. So I feel good. I feel good with where we're at. Uh, I was expecting a bounce back game, as I talked about all throughout all week, was saying that I expect them to go out and demolish this team. I didn't expect. I was like, if it's a close game and they win, I wouldn't be happy with that. I wanted to see a big win. I wanted to see a bigger win than this 30-point win. I'm not going to lie. I told you guys I wanted 40 points. We didn't get the 40 points. I think we could have got the 40 points. We should have got the 40 points. We didn't. But again, that's where you continue to work, and that's where you continue to build your team and continue to get better. So overall, yeah, man, not really hard to be upset after a loss. And again, a lot to get back on track, but a lot of stuff to be happy about as well. Again, biggest things, got to stay healthy, got to stay available, and got to keep getting better and got to keep growing. And that's football. So I like what I see. I thought BA had better energy. I didn't talk about BA yet. I thought BA energy, the challenge that I had for BA, I thought he answered. I thought BA's energy through the first 3 weeks was noticeable and just kind of, I don't know, it was kind of off. I felt like today, at least from what I saw before I go back and watch the tape, I felt like BA's energy was kind of like what we have been accustomed to, a little bit angry, a little bit pissed off when he plays. Sense of urgency was back. So now he didn't produce like crazy, but I did think that that was a big sign that I was looking for, and I felt the energy from BA. So I'm excited about that because I think that will translate into that big BA game that we're all waiting for. But I think he's trending in the right direction. So he made a really tough catch on that third down diving one. I thought he had a couple opportunities to make some more. I thought there was some missed penalties. So not bad, not bad by everyone. Um, again, the motto of this one is there's a lot to clean up, but it's a good dub. So hey, I like those ones. A lot of cleanup, a lot to get better, but we got a good dub. Hey, I'll take those ones and keep stacking W's and put this team in a good position to continue to win. Appreciate everyone for tapping in. I'm going to get home now. Peace.